Good luck.
Go ahead and call it to order. Thanks for everybody that's listening out there. Go ahead, Dr. Wilkins.
All right, so just wanted to get feedback from our board on the strategic plan that I put together based on comments from the community, based on surveys that we had, the sessions that we met, my thoughts, and just other things that discussions that have happened before. So I'm just going to go through real quick. We'll just talk about each section, and you guys can give opinions and let me know what you think. What things need to change, we'll do that too. So we have a vision that we've talked about before, building a brighter future. Our mission was one of the mission statements that we voted on during the sessions that we actually sent out to the staff to vote on as well. So mission is to empower every student by providing exceptional educational opportunities, fostering supportive community, promoting innovative learning experiences. We're dedicated to building a brighter future in which all students can thrive academically, socially, and personally. From there, I came up with 4 pillars of our plan, 4 pillars that these were kind of areas that were discussed the most when we talked about the survey, when we looked at surveys, looked at feedback that we've received. First pillar was communication and community. I kind of put those two together. Because I feel like there were parts that overlapped with community and communication. Another pillar was engagement. We had accountability and then also support. And then within each one of those pillars, I outlined, several different things that we need that were part of our plan. So, do you have any questions so far about anything there? No? Okay. We'll go on to talk about the plan itself. We'll start with communication and community. Just establish consistent centralized systems to ensure that students, staff, and families receive timely, clear, and equitable information. Missed a comma there. This is something that was discussed often, to make sure we get good communication out to people. So the 3 goals that I set up is streamline platforms to ensure the same information is being communicated in timely and appropriate fashion. So we're communicating amongst the various platforms. Also having communication expectations set for our employees, and then communicating regularly with our expectations too. The staff will communicate with both students and parents. So, and then in each section I put those were the goals, and we'll meet these goals to describe what we're going to do to actually meet those goals. First was create a quarterly district newsletter for our families and community. That was something that was discussed, that we don't send anything out from the actual district. They get things from the buildings, but not district level. So a quarterly newsletter from the district. A monthly, our expectation there would be at least a monthly newsletter at each building that we post on social media and the web page for all to see. And then we also have the expectations of our teaching staff to communicate with parents and student learning objectives at least once every other week. So every other week they're communicating about what the students are learning in the classroom. And this is preschool through 12 too. I think we probably, before elementary, was probably doing a pretty decent job of making sure that parents knew what was going on. I think as kids get older, sometimes you think the thought is that the kids are older now, they should be able to communicate that information to parents. I don't think they always do. It's a way to keep parents informed of what's going on in the classroom. And then the last thing is that coaches and extracurricular sponsors will send reminders to students and parents at least once per week in season to make sure that everyone knows what's going on in season. So that's good.
The social media, what platforms do those consist of?
So right now I believe we have representation on Facebook and X. Do we have anything on Instagram? I don't know about Instagram. I don't know that we have anything on Instagram.
That's what I know.
Facebook and X would be the 2 social media sites that I know of. Yeah.
I believe our X account though is just athletics, isn't it?
it may be.
So,
I think that was where there had been some confusion in the past.
Okay.
I think it was the athletic stuff was only on Twitter. And
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
Facebook, yeah. We talked a little bit about like some signage, some of that stuff. I didn't know if that was still something we thought might be important. I mean, other districts have some of those signs, so I just was curious where you felt like that fell in and if that was still valid.
I think it's something we can look into. I will tell you, it's with the hit in our capital projects that we have, it's expensive. It's about $10,000 to do
Right.
the signage that you're talking about, the road signs that say you've entered
Right.
such and such district. And if we would put on all the roads going to the district, put all the main ones, it's expensive.
Right.
It's an expensive cost, and I don't know. It's something we can consider. I didn't put it a part of the plan,
Right.
per se, but it's something we can look into.
That is my opinion. I think that the surrounding districts have done them.
See, they look nice. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a really nice thing. I just think it's something that
Yeah.
reminds people as they're driving.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has kids that go here, so it's just something that
Yeah.
can remind them that you're still there.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't going to add that to our.
No, it's fine.
But
That
like,
was just
okay.
a comment.
Do you guys have any questions or any comments about?
I'm so impressed with it, and I think it really does help with communication and community. I mean, that's what that is in a nutshell, and it's been
Right.
wonderful to see. And like I had some conversations, and say, I hope it can continue to keep that pace up.
Yeah.
Because it's been really refreshing to see all that information out there, and it does trigger a sense of pride and a sense of involvement in the community.
I agree.
And the community night I attended, that was talked about a lot, just communication and getting stuff out there, like even, ball games,
Yeah.
having a platform where people can't make it to the game, but it's still nice to see what's going on.
Yeah. Anything else?
I think if anybody needs clear expectations on what to do, I mean, I think he's really lighting the path on what people enjoy seeing.
Yeah.
And it's a clear example that you can give to other people. Say, well, look at what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
This is
Okay.
what we expect.
Nothing else, I'm gonna go into engagement. So what I put here, we'll be providing engaging instruction and extracurricular opportunities for our students. Goals would be students will be involved in engaging lessons in the classroom to inspire a stronger depth of knowledge, and increasing that depth of knowledge that we're covering in the classroom, I think is extremely important, especially when we talk about how students are performing on any standardized tests that they're taking, the NWA, iLearn, SATs. Those are things they're going to be asked to do. Student educational experiences would be tailored to their needs. So finding out what students are interested in and what can we do to tailor to those needs that students have. And develop life skills and career exploration to help them succeed after graduation. The life skills part was something that was really prevalent in the surveys, is that's a part we're missing, is making sure our students when they leave, they understand life and what you need to do in life to be successful, and just hit on those things. So we'll meet these goals, discussing classroom engagement and progress monitoring between administration and teaching staff during one-on-one meetings at least once per quarter. So every quarter, my expectations would be that our administration would meet one-on-one with each one of our teachers to talk about classroom engagement and how they're monitoring student progress during that time. And that's something that's needed. Another item would be develop our work-based learning model to include more students. What can we do to cover more students with our work-based learning? And that's whether that's here at Southwestern or tapping into something that Blue River is offering too. But just taking advantage of some of that. Exposing our students to a variety of career opportunities at a younger age, and getting students interested in the various careers, what they can pursue. And I don't want to get to the point where we're asking eighth graders to make a decision on what they want to be when they grow up, or and to choose exactly what they want to do. But I think it's important for our younger kids to know what opportunities are out there and how to explore those. And then as they get older, what do I need to know to be successful in these opportunities that are there? So, something we can address. Expanding extracurricular opportunities to remain relevant and match student interests. With this, there's a variety of extracurricular items. The esports is an item that I know has become more and more popular as time has gone on. I don't know if you guys are familiar with esports. It's gaming, basically, where schools have gaming teams and they compete against each other. There's, what can we use? There's things like drones and other variety of things to just make sure we're remaining relevant with our kids. And the last one is just create, review, revise IEP and 504 plans based on individual students' needs, and making sure that when we have something in an IEP or a 504 plan, it's tailored to what that student needs, and that we're following through on that. We shouldn't have blanket IEPs or blanket 504s that we use for everyone. It should be focused on that individual child. It's called an individual education plan for a reason. So, yeah. So that's what I have there. So, what feedback do you guys have for me on engagement?
Mike, I had a little bit of a question. With the life skills, I mean, what are the, that's pretty broad category. Mm-hmm. What kind of areas are you kind of looking to get into first? Just a little more specifics on kind of.
I think when we talk about, and frankly, it was broad on the survey too.
Correct. Yes.
So, what I'm thinking is, first of all, financial literacy would be something that would be extremely important, that kids know how to, you don't see a lot of people balancing checkbooks. Just keep track of that, know the budget, know what that looks like, and so that would be an important piece. I think another part of that life skill is understanding how to deal with disappointment. We all face disappointment in our lives. There are always things that we come across that are going to be disappointing to us. How do we handle that adversity? How do we respond to that adversity?
In a healthy way.
Right. Yeah.
What would you kind of
give up, or?
Yeah. What would you call that?
Grit.
Yeah.
It's literally. I mean, that's how I've heard it referred to as is, grit.
Emotional resilience, something to that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is that something that you? Is that something that's a specific class? Or a.
I don't think it's
or bringing resources in.
I think it's more.
That's what I was going to ask. How do you teach that?
The more, in my opinion, when I worked with some of this with my kids, it was more of a holistic approach with everyone. Mm-hmm. That it was a topic that we discussed. Whether it was an announcement where we put on the announcements and we talked about what it means to be resilient, when things go south, how you respond, whether it's could be via I want to say like an assembly. It could be via assemblies where we have that discussion. It could be that we ask our teachers to have that discussion in class and have that a requirement. I think there's a variety of different ways to do it and address it. Beth, do you have any suggestions or?
A lot of those things can be embedded into lessons. So I'm thinking about elementary skills that would teach our kids how to deal with anger, how to collaborate, how to work together, how to solve a problem together, how to deal with extra energy, those types of things that we're teaching our littlest students all the way up to our bigger kiddos. But it's more embedded into classroom lessons. So it might be a book that they read together and then they work through some of those skills. We do have some counseling lessons that they've done to deal with some of those things. So it's more basic, life skills. I mean, we're not doing
Right.
financial literacy in kindergarten, but
Right.
some
Right.
more
I
basic.
think
A
with
common time where I've seen it too is
Mhm.
it's made sense like in a PE class,
Mhm.
physical education, because generally there's people who win and people who don't win.
Mhm.
And when you do win, how do you respond
Mhm.
to the people who don't? And when you don't win, how do you respond to the people who do? I think there's a variety of things you can do there, but to have it on a plan and say this is something we're gonna focus on, and so we want to make sure that every building's addressing it.
Right.
And,
Well, I think, with elementary, I think it is a little, it's kind of a little bit more baked in because just the age of the kids. It's a little more difficult when you get to the high school level because now it's like, how do you also have to teach them all these other things that are actually hard skills as far as academically. So then to try to put in some of that, I remember a few times we had to get like guest speakers that would come in.
Yeah.
And that was always done as a big assembly, and I feel like that kind of, but that was cool, but I feel like that kind of took away from it versus if you were to have it in a smaller setting, like at a classroom size level. I think that they might get more out of it.
You can embed it in health classes, classes that kids have to take. Really, at the secondary level, I think a good way to do it is to make sure that you're having this conversation, the admin's having these conversations with students that they're maybe dealing with, and discussions that they're dealing with the students of how you're going to respond to this, how you're going to respond. You made a mistake, you messed up. Okay, people make mistakes. How are you going to respond to them? When the next time something comes up, next time someone makes you mad, are you just going to turn around and hit them, or are you going to think about what we discussed here? And I think having those conversations and embedding those within is extremely important. We just need to make sure we're doing that. Yeah. Would you want me to put examples of life skills?
I think it'd be good for the community to see that. So I guess that is such a broad item. I mean, and there's so much variability to it.
Yep.
I mean, to just say to deal with just life skills, I think would be.
Yep. Okay. What else? Anything else on engagement? Okay. I'm going to move on to accountability. Implement clear structures to guide decision making, track our effectiveness, ensure continuous improvement in academics, behavior, and extracurriculars. This may be something that comes across as basic, but I want to make sure we're doing this and we're holding not only holding students accountable, but also holding ourselves accountable and how we're helping our students and delivering instruction. So students are held to high expectations. That's one goal. All staff are accountable for student learning. Extracurriculars are invested in student success. Data is driving our instruction, so we're using data to guide instruction. And then also the last one is just use responsible governance as a district. But we meet these goals by consistently enforcing rules and regulations. If it's something that's in the handbook, we enforce it. If it's a rule that we've decided is important, we're going to enforce it with everyone, and be consistent, fair and consistent. Basing all grading practices on student performance. So grades should be the overall portion of the grade should be based on how the student's performing and the knowledge that they've gained. It shouldn't be based on, in my mind, it shouldn't be based on likability, or should be based on things like work ethic. Those are all important, but when we're talking about a student's grade, it really should be how well do they understand that content that we're talking about.
Not participation.
Right, not participation, limiting extra credit too. It shouldn't be. What would worry me is if we have a student that's not doing well in a course and they're just doing a bunch of extra credit. It has nothing to do with the material, that grade's not representative of what the student knows. So just making sure that those two line up, those two items line up. And if we're using data to drive our instruction, it shouldn't be hard to do that. Developing a new teacher evaluation system centered on instruction and student learning. That's something that we're gonna work through. I don't know if you guys know the 4 tiers that we've had in the past that the state mandated we had to do. We don't have to do those anymore. What is it? Improvement necessary,
Effective,
highly effective, and ineffective. Yeah, those are all gone now. We can use those if we choose, but we don't have to use those. Before it was mandated by the state that we had to use those. So just about developing an evaluation system that's centered on instruction and student learning, and also staff improvement too. I think probably I should put that in there too. Administration checking in regularly with all sponsors and coaches. That was something that was talked about, that when we have lay coaches maybe that aren't working at the school district, and they kind of, here's the ball, good luck, and there's not a whole lot of check-in with the people to make sure that they're getting what they need. And so I think that just checking in with all those sponsors to make sure that their needs are being met, and they're meeting their students' needs too. Tracking student mastery through the use of data is another one. And then tracking facility and technology needs, maintenance, and past improvement. There's really not a whole lot of tracking when it comes to what facility items have we taken care of and what still needs to be done. It's kind of, there's not a whole lot of planning that's involved there. It's something breaks, we fix it. Something's not working well, we fix it. Well, let's try to get things put on a schedule where we know what we know that this air handler will last 20 years. In 20 years, it's time to start thinking about getting a new one and tracking that information. So everything we're doing with our building projects, to have those written down and tracked, so that way, because we may all not be here, 20 years from now, someone else will be, and it's important for them to see what we did and what we didn't do. So, yeah. So that's the accountability section. What questions or what comments do you have there?
How specific are you wanting this part of it to be? Because I'm just saying, like, data. I mean, are you wanting to talk about in the plan what data we're using to drive our instruction, or
I think we leave it broad, because the data that's important for every level is different. Mm-hmm. And frankly, some levels, it's going to be hard to find some of that data, so it may have to be created from within.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need to be more specific there. I think that's the building's jobs to make sure that the data they're using is appropriate for their classrooms. Yeah. The variety of classrooms. So what do you think, Beth?
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like our PLC process when we're doing RTI. Obviously the goal is iLearn and WA, those types of things, but those are such small chunks that we're making common formative assessments as a team. So the common formative assessments, that there's not something specific. It's not like assessment A, assessment B. These are things that we're creating or come from our resources that we've adopted. So it varies.
And we don't want this to be putting anybody in a box.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And when you have a district plan like this, it's something that's gonna need to be followed by everyone. So sometimes you have to put things a little bit more broader, because of, and then the areas like your primary area can be specific in their own way, and the intermediate can be specific in their own way. Junior high, high school, same thing. And the different curricular areas too.
I don't have anything in that case, that's all.
What's up?
If we want it to be broader, then yes,
Yeah.
I don't have anything on that.
Okay.
I think just as long as you're following up with the, the building leaders.
Yep.
On that.
Mhm.
I'm not saying, there you go,
Totally. Yep.
It would be good to apprise public
Yep.
as well on it as we.
And that's something we're focusing on too, is being more presenting some of those things that we're doing, successes, and maybe areas where we need to grow, and making sure we're out in public and presenting those things
Right.
as much as possible. So.
Yeah, be a good thing for our community night.
Yeah.
And something to
Mhm.
actually
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
And I'll just add that I think tracking sounds great to me with, what we went through.
Yeah, but tracking anything would be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean. I'm not just,
Not even anything specific.
yeah, it's just having something to.
And frankly, we have a lot of needs. If we're talking about like buildings, we have a lot of needs still.
Right.
And tracking what needs to be done and how we're gonna accomplish that too. And I think that's really important.
That's a lot in itself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and a facilities master plan would be.
Yeah.
It's big.
Right. Yeah.
Just to, if every part that was going on here was listed, what its status was, that's life expectancy, that'd be a giant ledger.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Probably needs to be somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too great, there was a digital catalog that was accessible to people that need it.
Yeah.
And that way that can be transferred from administration to administration.
Right. Yep.
As we
Yep.
If my last
leave.
comment, my last one was, put this in a binder and drill it to the wall, leave an anchor somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else? Accountability?
That's not like it.
Good. Let's go last one is support. District is committed to ensuring that all students and staff have the support, resources, and opportunities they need to succeed, grow, and thrive in a safe and welcoming environment. So the 3 areas that I put, 3 goals would be staff will receive the support needed to be successful. And it's hard to get much more specific because what every staff member needs is different. Some staff do some things really, really well and other things not so well. But identifying the areas and making sure they're getting that support, creating a culture of safety around here. I think we have a really good start there with safety, but just making sure we're continuing focused on that and making sure that we're current with our safety practices too. We rely with the whole moniker of safest school in America. And there's things we can do then and making sure we're addressing those needs. And then supporting our students educationally and emotionally were our 3 goals, and meeting these, supporting and investing in our staff by exposing them professional development opportunities based on student needs, based on where our students are struggling, and providing those professional development opportunities. Sometimes that's really easy to do too. You generally have one person who can do something really well, and using those people in your corporation even to show other people how they're doing that is important. I think sometimes we don't rely on each other enough with those things, and we can identify those. And sometimes it's even as easy if we don't have anyone here. Talk to some of our neighboring districts. They have something that's working there, and maybe we can go visit and see what they're doing. We talk about collaboration and sharing things, but there's sometimes I feel like sometimes we're hesitant to find those rock stars or those superstars and making sure we're using them to show other people what we can do. Kind of similar to what John said earlier on. You talked about Tyler doing a great job with social media and posting, and you brought up that this would be a good example for other people to follow. We can do things like that. So, developing a clear safety plan with procedures for students and staff. The safety plan we have is pretty outdated. I think it's from back from 2016, 2017, and making sure we have something up to date. Clear procedures for students to report emotional and physical harm or threats. Making sure we have a variety of ways for people for our students to report those. We can tell them, well, if something happens, let a staff member know. But who is the staff member that they connect with best? Have we found someone that they connect with well? Maybe we need to provide other ways for reporting, like I don't know, through a QR code in the buildings that'll load to a certain site where they can report things. So just being cognizant of that, of our students are going to have emotional needs, and we want to make sure we're protecting them. And every one of our students feel welcome in our buildings and feel safe as well. And then celebrate students and staff often via social media, board recognition, building recognitions, and then news media as well. So that's what I have for support. What comments or questions do you have?
When you were talking about the supporting and investing in your staff, so like trying to, like you said, whenever you have somebody that's doing really well, trying to share that information, get other people to basically instead of piling it on the same people,
Right,
trying to
totally.
share the love a little bit.
Totally, yeah.
My wife working in the corporate side, they have a thing called succession plans. She talks about that a lot, where basically you have this person that's in this role, and now you have somebody else that, hey, I may move on to a different thing. This is that way one person doesn't know all the stuff and have all the eggs in one basket.
Right.
I think that's kind of
like
fancy
training
way.
idea.
Yeah, it's a fancy way to keep all that accountability kind of spread throughout, so that if somebody does leave or retire or whatever, you're not just sitting there starting from scratch. So just thought of put that as a fancy name that you can put to something like that. So.
You look like you want to say something.
Well, I know I had asked a while back about, there was, I can't remember the name of it now, but there's a company that will like be that emotional support for students, and
That Nexus.
yes,
Nexus?
And I think you had told me that we had looked into that, but they didn't have the staff to cover us. Is
That's where we're at last time. Yeah.
We're still there. They still have it posted, and they have not found a counselor.
So that would be an idea, maybe
social worker. What is that?
It
elsewhere,
would be like
right?
adult and child used to be, so it's outside service. But unlike adult and child, they take all insurances, not basically just Medicaid. So they would come in and they would have a therapist on site, and students can work with that therapist, and they work with all insurances, private insurance, state insurance, and it's counseling services. And it can be anything, behavior support in the classroom, they work with families, they do in-home support, in-home counseling sessions. That's a great resource. I met with them right before Christmas.
When you're talking about developing a safety plan, I know some of the SROs have reached out to me about wanting to be involved in some of that. Just as a side note.
I've reached out to them. One in particular there was one in particular that I knew of that was really interested in being involved.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything else?
Let's talk about reviewing that safety plan. I think it's a good idea to review all of review our facilities policy. We're just reviewing policies often, just to make sure that, there's no new information that we may have received, or, something that maybe not be working for us. So just a scheduled review of basically all the safety, athletics, everything.
Just so you know, Daryl too, like those safety plans, that's one of those things that falls under, we can do that in executive for the obvious reasons that we don't want to broadcast every plan that we have in that department. So that is one of those boxes.
Yeah,
that
if
we
we,
can check.
if we ever were to talk about it as a board, that would be an executive, just because there's things that we do that we don't want it to be broadcasted for everyone to know. They could use it against us, and we don't want that, so. Yep. Anything else?
I like it overall. I think there's a lot here. So
Mhm.
you feel like you can quarterback all that. I think it's good. I like it.
I mean,
I agree.
I think a common thing maybe that was expressed is that some areas it's basic,
Mhm.
but it's also what we need to, that we need to hone in on some of these areas, like, well, all of these areas are areas that we can improve upon, so.
Well, there's a lot of like tracking, developing.
Mm-hmm.
You see those words a lot, and that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only area that I don't feel like was hidden here much was the financial side.
Mm-hmm.
So like and it could be another pretty broad thing, but I don't know if that's something that you felt like we needed to put in there at all.
I guess what I thought was it's kind of addressed, and maybe I could address it in another way. Just the district will use responsible governance. Maybe the district will use responsible governance and financial practices.
Yeah, I think maybe throw at least something in there that because we have that double-sided, double-edged sword that we have of trying to take care of our taxpayers, but also provide enough for the students.
Right.
That's pretty big.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Big needle to try to thread. So.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with Daryl. There's a lot here. There's a lot of things that are pretty broad too.
Mhm.
But I mean, but there's a lot of different ways to get there. And
Right.
you explain some of that. It's just.
Do you feel like you guys were there at our community nights, and you've seen the survey results? Do you feel like what's being talked about in here was discussed during those nights, during those times where we met with the community and we had discussions with people?
I definitely do.
Yeah.
I feel like consistent, no matter what night it was, communication seemed to always come.
Totally. Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's
and
number one on the pillars.
And support was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I basically heard about 504 and IEP for most of an evening.
Yeah.
One of those, and that's included here to really buckle down on that. And to be completely honest, this strategic plan is pretty energizing. Really, it creates excitement. And there's goals there. I'm looking forward to pushing this out.
Good. And it is a plan it's also a plan that's fluid. So if we need to make changes, we can make changes as we go.
It's not concrete.
It's not, yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think we have a good start on things we need to work on.
Great base.
So our next steps with this is we had talked about hiring someone, doing it. I talked to Jordan a little bit, and she uses Canva, just a program that she uses from time to time on a variety of things. Showed her examples of some other districts and what their strategic plan looked like, to some of the I don't know, more appealing fonts and pictures and things like that, and she was very confident that that's something she could do. So we're not going to outsource it. I think we can do it in house, and that's our plan. Is next to take this and then put that into a document that's more visually appealing than black and white and numbers and bullet points and stuff.
So then past August, how often do you plan on officially looking at this or reviewing it, or is it just when we do get those updates from the buildings that'll be considered
I don't think there's anything wrong with reviewing yearly, at least yearly.
Yeah, I was thinking every 6 months or once a year to check in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've got other goals and metrics that we're going to be talking about through the year. So I think annually, seeing where we're at on this would be adequate.
Yeah.
What's the public comment thing?
Got anything?
On the students, let's see, on the clear procedure for students to report, number one, I love all this.
Good.
It's great. But, I'd put something in there on communicating back to the parents as well.
Yep.
To kind of close that loop. And then when you were talking about students learning like with disappointment and grit, love that, but like you could even start with like juniors, sophomores and juniors as they're starting that application process to college, meeting with like a whole class at a time, even parents and maybe, I don't know, just using that as an example of, hey, you're going to apply to 10 colleges, and, you know, don't get upset if you're not getting into your top 2 or 3, and just be, maybe that's an example there. And you mentioned on the financial literacy for like students, love that. So I think there's a lot of schools that are offering that, those type of things to help kids when they get out into the real world to understand where their money's going and stuff. So.
Good. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I think that like you were talking about the financial literacy and the emotional resilience stuff, those life skills, I think those life skills, I think that's going to be a really big one if we can play on that more. I think that could be something that has some really big impact. I mean, how many kids leave here and know where their spare tire's at in their car? I mean, some pretty basic stuff that might actually have a very concrete impact on them. You know? Do you know where the spare tire's in your car?
I'm gonna take a class.
Yeah.
Like,
Must sit in on
you
this
can
class.
sign up for that one.
I'm doing, sir, I'm gonna do a walkthrough.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks, guys. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep.
Don't want anybody confused.
But I was like, I felt bad sitting in front of her nameplate. I was like,
Sorry, I was trying to plug out.
oh, no,